Hello and welcome to a very special conversation. Today, Arabian Business is joined by none other than Chris Roberts, the Group CEO of Eltazam, here to tell us his thoughts on the Dubai ecosystem, the real estate market, and what the future holds. Chris, thank you for joining me today and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's kind of you.
So firstly, just to start off, as I mentioned there at the beginning, Dubai, we want to talk about what's going here on in the Emirate, what's going on with the city. We've been on something of a tear recently in the real estate sector. Is that a dynamic that you expect to continue?
I do for the foreseeable future. I mean, there's been a lot of migration of wealth into the UAE, particularly into Dubai from family offices and from individual wealth. And that has really transformed the ecosystem within the whole real estate market. So I expect that to continue for quite a while. The benefits you have in the UAE is one of the safest countries in the world. So it makes a lot of sense why a lot of high net worth individuals and family offices would come here, and indeed tourism at the same time.
And has that changed the demographics of the market itself? Are we seeing different kinds of buyers and also different kinds of appetites for different types of assets?
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of assets being bought up by Russia in particular, as well as the Indian market, and continue also the British market. A lot more movement into villas rather than into apartments. But apartments are there for investment purposes, but the villas are there for living. And I think that's the change really, because now you're sort of moving away from a lot of high-scale apartment buildings into these big villa communities, and it's having an impact. It's a positive impact.
We've been talking about the real estate market there as quite a holistic beast, but
Yeah.
really it's quite stratified. Here in Dubai, the ultra luxury real estate, beachfront real estate has been increasing. Prices have been jumping over 100% increase
Yes.
last year. Do you see that dynamic trickling down to other market segments, say the mid-market as well?
Well, I do, and I think there's sort of two perspectives really. When you look at the housing market for Dubai and the price range, that's still around about 15% less than the global market. So there's still some room in there for price increments anyway, until you've got some kind of parity into what Dubai's doing. So from that perspective, I still think this is going to continue, and you still have some movement there at the same time. When you're looking at how apartments are moving now, it's more about the size, the quality. You're getting into the generational gap thinking, and therefore, actually, when you look at the apartments being sold and the buildings that are very popular, they're ones with smaller sized apartments that have large common areas and more facilities in those common areas at the same time. And this is your Generation Z's, Generation Alphas and Bravos shortly in the next sort of 10 to 15 years coming into it, because they're demanding this kind of appetite rather than the baby boomers and the Generation X's like myself who don't.
So that's one example, I think, of changing dynamics and changing appetites there. But you and I were talking just before the cameras turned on about the impact of technology and the way that buildings are being built differently because of access to technology. Perhaps you could expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a whole ESG platform which is very important to the life cycle of real estate. Beforehand, you designed, you built, and then you left it off to go and somebody else to go and manage, somebody else to go and maintain. What is happening now is that these buildings have been designed with technology. If you take ICD Brookfield Place, for instance, it's probably one of the most important buildings from a design perspective in how it's actually gone from just it was a normal concept of having a high-range office block to probably being one of the few buildings in the Middle East to be able to practice carbon neutral very, very quickly. And that has a massive impact when it comes to maintaining an asset, when it comes to managing an asset. And this is something we're quite excited about. And also, it's when you start looking at the carbon footprint of buildings, it's somebody has to take responsibility for getting that down. And this doesn't happen overnight. Once you know your position as a building, you then have to work out exactly how I'm going to modify the assets over a long period of time to get to far more efficient assets. And then incorporating automation within those assets, so those assets tell you when they want to be maintained and how they want to be managed. That is where the UAE is taking the lead front, because now it's more affordable to go and achieve that. So this is what I believe is Dubai has the opportunity to track this, to do this, and companies like Eltizam we are pushing this as part of our commitment to ESG, but also the long-term future of FM and PM within the business.
Is ESG then what you see as the big challenge or the big trend in the industry?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a challenge. It's more of it's how we should be looking into the future. We produced our first report last year in 2022. And it's for us, it's a very important landmark to actually take control of our own destiny in regards to the ESG perspectives. So now I benchmark myself against global companies, not local companies, because we need to see ourselves in where we're achieving, what we're achieving. So we've committed, for instance, we have our own net zero targets as an organization. We've committed to electrify our fleet of vehicles by the end of next year. And we've committed to actually implement the whole carbon monitoring within the assets we manage. And this is significant. And the opportunities for the UAE, as the same, is to understand where the UAE sits from a carbon footprint perspective. Then you can actually do something about it. But first of all, you've got to understand where you sit.
Clearly, sustainability is something that you feel strongly about there from your answer. Is that where you see Eltizam's role in the ecosystem? Is it around the sustainability debate? What else is it that you guys are focusing on?
I think the big direction we're taking is sustainability, but through technology. The adoption of technology is very important to us. We've invested vast sums since about 2018 into technology and how we can actually change if you like, the real estate and industrial estates, and how we can manage and maintain our assets going forward, different from how they were done in the past. So this is the biggest transition, if you like, when it comes to the future of facilities management, the future of property management, and the future of development management at the same time. It's all built around technology.
Well, the future is very technical and very technological, in which case it just exists for me to thank you for joining us here today, Chris. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thank you.